Arise analyst and lawyer Frank Tietie joins us now to look at the seemingly unending queues for petrol in Nigeria. Thanks very much, Frank, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Are you surprised that, the queues are back again? Motorists in Nigeria struggling to get products that they are highly endowed with. Second highest producer in Africa after several decades of being the first, the leading oil producer in Africa.
I'm surprised, shocked, and highly embarrassed that this is happening after all the much talk about subsidy removal to ensure efficiency in petroleum supplies of petroleum products. It's utterly disgraceful that this is happening after a certain somewhat explanation by the NNPCL that the queues and the shortage of PMS as a result of logistic problems. What a nebulous way to take Nigerians for granted. Their logistics, whether it's logistics associated with lack of trucking facilities or anything happening in terms of transportation, but Nigerians, the resilience of Nigerians will always be considered something to be abused when you simply say logistics and nothing happened 4 days after the so-called logistics problem. There is utter scarcity. The queues are everywhere. In fact, one of the most embarrassing things you can experience is that in front of the corporate headquarters of the NNPCL, right here in Abuja, you see ruffians and brigands, hawking petrol in jerry cans. Another very terrible scene is a situation where one of Nigeria's foremost hotels that host many of the international conferences right here in the Transcorp Hilton, right in front of the Hilton, advertising to the rest of the world. You see all of these persons hawking petrol in rubber jerry cans, plastic jerry cans. Does it mean that these ruffians have a way of solving logistic problems more than the NNPCL? So you see, somehow this must stop, because we must stop this idea of making our country a laughing stock. It all sounds like a joke. You said that queues are everywhere, but when you go to the very front of the Hilton advertising Nigeria to the world, you see all sorts of people hawking petrol. You go to the front of NNPC, well, it's understandable that you have some 2 major petrol stations right there in front of the NNPC headquarters. But you see all sort of people, street urchins, hawking fuel. Now, it's as a result of clear inefficiency on the part of the NNPCL at this time. And it probably extends to that of the authority itself. I'm talking about the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, that is supposed to be responsible for ensuring that there is some measure of stock in storage. What it means is that this authority and NNPCL, both of them are just toying with Nigeria's national security, because when there is clear failure of energy security, especially in peacetime, we're not at war.
Sorry, has there been energy security in this country in the last couple of years, even in recent times?
But what
NERC has done, the Minister of Power and the rest, what energy do you get?
Well, no, but clearly we are dealing with national security. Leave energy security alone. But when a situation where you cannot guarantee for days the supply of PMS, that is the mainstay of your economic activity, national economic activity, then it's clearly you are taking for granted that Nigeria's national security. And that's the reason why the president is not calling them to order. Clearly, because whereas we don't have energy security, we do have job security for members, for the officials of NNPCL and NMDPRA. That's the reason why we will continue to have this. There's ensconced there, not minding what Nigerians are going through. I just got a report from I read a report from the Foundation of Investigative Journalism that you were talking about Kaduna, it's more crucial, Osun and Ekiti State as we speak. But the bad thing is that whereas you tell me that there are no products to supply, so how come there's much product to supply in the black market? It's forget the fact that we are going through what we are experiencing in Abuja right now. But I think if it is happening like this in Abuja, Consider what will be happening in the hinterlands. And I usually use Kafanchan for as an example. Serious suffering in silence.
Petrol now sells for 700 and beyond in Abuja here.
Well, that is if you ever find it, because though we see this on unending queues. I bought a 10-liter jerry can of PMS for 13,000 naira.
So you had to resort to the street urchins, right? That is the street vendors.
No, but look, I have to resort to them. But for goodness sake, let them stay away from the front of Transcorp Hilton. Let them stay away from the front of the NNPC corporate headquarters. That's a national disgrace, for goodness sake. Look, why should you say that there is no fuel, but you have men right in front of NNPCL headquarters selling fuel in plastic? Look, I have some national pride. Don't disgrace us as a country. If you don't have that kind of sense of responsibility, please get out of the job. I mean, it's too much. And then the president allows all of this.
Okay, let's. Some people, petroleum experts say the key issues here are the refineries that are not working. When will Port Harcourt ever come on stream? We've been promised that. Once they said it was a technical, something that the refinery was supposed to have started the production about 2-3 months ago.
I wonder why you were asking me this kind of question when we all know that in this country it is for certain mysterious reasons the refineries have refused to work. And whereas we understand that it does benefit a certain establishment class in this country, that the refineries won't and ever work, no matter what the promises, no matter the commitment of any of the administration, whether it was Goodluck Jonathan, whether it was President Buhari or the current President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, the refineries just won't work. Everybody's expecting Dangote refinery to kick off so that we can have some measure of, availability of PMS. We run a country in such a manner that first takes the people for granted, and then again you don't have people who run a government, who run the state, as if without a sense of responsibility, without a sense of shame. How can we, as a major oil producing country in the world, have this kind of situation? And then we have an NNPCL that wants to pride itself that, it's competing now with a certain Saudi Aramco, whereas it cannot even provide any form of energy security for its own, which is the primary reason. In fact, the NNPC is supposed to be the fallback on in terms of energy security, meaning that it takes pride that is the sole importer of petroleum products. Why should we even be importing petroleum products in the first place? And if we must import, it's as a result to cater to issues of unnecessary disruption. If either we go to war, for example, not a norm that we should constantly have this uncertainty. Those who run in NNPCL should foresee any form of disruption that is about to come, and then the NMDPRA should also have enough stock. What these guys are doing is just making a laughing stock of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu after the removal of subsidy. He keeps, arguing that he didn't remove subsidy, and here it faces us directly that something has gone askew. Something is not working right.
And another thing that probably is not working right is what SERAP, Social Economic Accountability, Social Accountability Project, is taken up with the NNPC. Look at the Auditor's General Report for 2020. It says NNPCL failed to remit $1.04 billion into the nation's treasury and 168 billion naira.
Well,
that's the Auditor General's report. It's not SERAP's report. 2020.
That makes it interesting. So why should it be SERAP's responsibility?
A cesspool of corruption.
But you know that the characteristic of the NNPC before it became NNPCL was that of opacity. It doesn't tell anybody anything. It does whatever it does. It exports petroleum products. It collects dollars, and then it doesn't report to anybody.
NNPC is now into road construction.
In fact,
now,
at the point in time, it says that there was nothing to declare anymore. All of that. So that kind of opacity ought to have been the principal responsibility of the National Assembly to investigate pursuant to its powers under Section 88 of the Constitution. So if the National Assembly is utterly failing in its responsibility, which is now falls on an NGO to now take NNPC to court to say, please, this amount of money, we didn't do the investigation. It is the Auditor General that did. please remit it. Even give an explanation. So that kind of utter disregard for our laws, for our people, is what's reigning.
Where are the anti-corruption agencies?
Well, they are busy. They don't take issues of Bobrisky very lightly. But this one that affects national security, that affects income, whereas we are a country that recently noted for going and borrowing all over the places. Here we have billions of naira unremitted. The EFCC hasn't done anything about it. The ICPC hasn't done anything. But when it comes to spraying naira, something that has been part of our culture, even though we now know better that the law prohibits it, but they will do everything possible, carry all the resources to pursue that young man trying to hustle to survive in Nigeria by being a cross-dresser, and then forget the big things. That's how we miss it. We forget to take the speck out of our eye and then complain about logs. I mean, the logs in our eye, then complain about specks in other people's eyes.
Thank you very much. No better place to drop the anchor. Frank Tietie, Arise analyst, and is a lawyer as well.